Hello and welcome to Frank's School. I'm going to call this My Friend Francesco. And it's ironic, this shirt, I had a shirt. I hope this brightness of this red shirt doesn't mess up the lighting, I don't know, but it's ironic that I would be wearing a new shirt, which my wife just got me, when I'm talking about My Friend Francesco. If that might remind you of a pretty famous book and movie, I think, called My Friend Flicka. I had a friend Flicka, a horse. This was a horse, Swedish word for girl, I think. She was my friend. but anyway, My Friend Francesco. I'm being a little, how do you say it? Secretive. I could have used another name for him and you would have known quicker. But I wanted to just tell you what I did yesterday. And boy, I do not want this channel of mine to become like a blog, like, oh, what's the latest thing Frank's been doing? I've been doing. If there's not something there to teach that's worth it for you to say learn, or me to have the experience of teaching, I'm not interested in doing it. But yesterday I spoke from the pulpit. I don't want to say I gave a sermon. It wasn't really quite the same thing. So yesterday was Sunday, and I spoke from the pulpit in a very tiny Lutheran church here in Dutch Corner. And I talked about My Friend Francesco. The pastor had said a month or more before that, 2 or 3 times a year people were allowed to do that weren't ministers, that weren't ordained or whatever. And I said almost immediately, well, I'll do it next week. Because I like to talk about My Friend Francesco. But then I heard, she said, well, I'll make sure you get to see the lectionary. Well, the lectionary is a list of passages that's like, it goes in a 3-year cycle, and there's 4. There's the Old Testament reading, there's a Psalm, there's a New Testament reading, and there's a Gospel, there's 4, epistle, I guess I should say, Gospel, there's 4. And Lutheran pastors, at least, are supposed to stick to those and talk about those and what they have in common. And then, like I say, it's a cycle. They have one for every Sunday, 52, and it goes around after 3 years, it repeats. When I heard that, I said, never mind, because I wasn't interested in trying to be a pastor. But I don't know, I guess she forgot that I said, no, never mind. So anyway, I was allowed to do it. And I told about My Friend Francesco. I did deal with the lectionary a little bit, because I said they're words. I knew they were going to be words. It didn't matter almost what they were about, because they were words. And that was not, what I was going to talk about was almost anti-words. Well, Francesco, I'll tell you just, I'm not going to preach this over again, not by any means preach. I hate to think of myself as a preacher. Just telling you about my friend. You could say I tricked the congregation, tiny, 20 people, maybe 30. I tricked them into thinking that it was somebody that they might, somebody that lived at our time, and somebody that they might recognize. Said about this rich kid, townie, raised in town, joined the military, came back sick. I called it post-traumatic stress order. They could relate to this. This part of the United States produces an awful lot of people in the military. And then his father disowned him and was sick and didn't talk for a long time. Then finally said no. I even went on and saying he was Catholic. He went before the Pope. Could have been burned at the stake for thinking differently. And according to one version, the Pope actually kissed his feet. And I wanted to bare, dirty, ugly feet. Well, I don't know if they were ugly, but dirty, bare feet. And I wanted to make sure in my congregation, this is the church I attend regularly, I'm the organist there, heard the words, quote, that the Pope supposedly said, Pope Innocent III, "We are encrusted with riches and power. You in your poverty put us to shame." Because I think that applies much wider than that. I think that is true of the United States in general. Encrusted with riches and power. You in your poverty put us to shame. I wanted them to hear that, because this congregation, they certainly would not think of themselves as rich, but they they certainly are not poor either. Well, my friend, eventually I tell him, I'm talking about St. Francis of Assisi. He died just about 800 years ago. But nonetheless, he is my friend. You know, none of them knew who I was talking about, not even the pastor, which surprised me. I thought it would be a giveaway to her, because she was sort of thinking locally, you know, she doesn't know anybody around here, who would it be? My wife knew. She knew pretty early because she knows me. But anyway, I had an opportunity to draw their attention to a man called, that was later sainted, Francesco de Bernardone from Assisi. His mother was French, his father a rich cloth merchant. Well, anyway, the one thing I'll say still, and then I'll leave this, is if you're interested in this, on my channel, I did a playlist called Guided Viewing of Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon, because I actually used this in the classroom, this movie done by Zeffirelli. And if you're interested in the man and why I would have used this, and much more, there you go. It's 18 videos long. I didn't write that on there. 18 videos long, and I so crudely use my camera to film what's on a television screen. Almost had my channel disallowed because of copyright issues, but I managed to survive that. Anyway, if you do look at that at the beginning of the playlist, the camera, I don't know why that camera's doing that weird thing, but that was 4 years ago, I think, that I did it. All right, well, my friend Francesco de Bernardone, St. Francis of Assisi. If you don't know him, I hope you get to know him. He could be maybe your friend too. Bye for now.